For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On October 28, 1995, Constable Sarah Mitchell, 29, disappeared while on patrol duty in the rural outskirts of Cairns, Australia. The experienced officer had been responding to a routine noise complaint when she failed to check in with dispatch, prompting a massive search operation throughout far north Queensland. Despite extensive investigations by Queensland police and federal authorities, no trace of the missing constable was ever found along her patrol route. For 9 years, her disappearance remained one of Australia's most troubling cases of a missing police officer, generating ongoing investigations and national media attention. Then, in November 2004, cattle ranchers discovering a new water source on their remote property made a disturbing find that would finally reveal what had happened to Constable Mitchell during her final night patrol. This is the complete story of her abduction and the shocking discovery that exposed the deadly encounter that had claimed the life of a dedicated officer in the Australian outback. October 28, 1995, began as a routine shift for Constable Sarah Mitchell at the Cairns police station, where she had been serving for 6 years as one of the region's most respected community policing officers. Mitchell was known throughout far north Queensland for her dedication to rural policing and her ability to connect with residents in remote communities scattered throughout the vast territory. The 29-year-old constable had grown up in rural Queensland and understood the unique challenges of policing in areas where the nearest backup might be hours away, and where officers often served as first responders for everything from medical emergencies to wildlife encounters. Her rural background and calm demeanor made her particularly effective in situations that required both authority and diplomacy. Mitchell's patrol area covered approximately 800 square kilometers of mixed agricultural land, small townships, and wilderness areas between Cairns and the Atherton Tablelands. The region attracted tourists seeking authentic Australian outback experiences, but also contained isolated properties where illegal activities could flourish beyond regular police surveillance. Her shift began at 6 p.m. with briefings about recent criminal activity in the area, including reports of drug trafficking and property theft that had been increasing throughout the region. The evening patrol was scheduled to include routine checks of known problem areas and response to any calls that might emerge during the night. At 9:45 p.m., Mitchell received a radio call about a noise complaint at a property approximately 45 kilometers southwest of Cairns, near the small community of Kuranda. The complaint involved reports of loud music and possible illegal gathering that was disturbing neighboring properties in the sparsely populated area. The noise complaint call came from Margaret Thompson, an elderly resident whose property bordered a recently purchased farm that had been the subject of neighborhood concerns about unusual activity and late-night disturbances. Thompson told dispatch that the noise had been ongoing for several hours and seemed to be getting louder. Mitchell acknowledged the call at 9:47 p.m. and indicated she would drive to the location to investigate the complaint and speak with the property owners about controlling the noise levels. She estimated her arrival time at approximately 10:30 p.m., given the distance and condition of rural roads in the area. The drive to the complaint location required traveling along narrow country roads that were poorly lit and rarely traveled after dark. Mitchell's patrol vehicle was equipped with GPS tracking and regular radio communication systems that allowed dispatch to monitor her location and status throughout her shift. At 10:15 p.m., Mitchell radioed dispatch to report that she was approaching the complaint location and could hear loud music consistent with a neighbor's report. She indicated that she would investigate the situation and contact the property owners to resolve the noise issue peacefully. This was the last communication ever received from Constable Sarah Mitchell. When she failed to respond to routine radio checks at 10:45 p.m. and 11 p.m., dispatch began attempting to establish contact while monitoring her vehicle's GPS location, which showed it stationary near the complaint address. The initial response began at 11:30 p.m. when Mitchell's supervisor, Sergeant Robert Hayes, was notified about the missing officer's failure to respond to radio calls. Hayes immediately dispatched backup units to Mitchell's last known location while establishing emergency protocols for a missing police officer. The first backup unit arrived at the scene at 12:15 a.m. and found Mitchell's patrol vehicle parked properly on the roadside near the property where the noise complaint had originated. The vehicle was locked, showed no signs of struggle or damage, and contained all of Mitchell's standard equipment except her portable radio and service weapon. The property where the complaint had been reported was dark and quiet. with no evidence of the loud music or gathering that had prompted the original call. Initial examination revealed that the property appeared to be unoccupied, with no vehicles or signs of recent activity visible from the roadway. Search teams immediately began systematic examination of the area around Mitchell's abandoned patrol car, looking for any evidence of struggle, accident, or indication of where the missing officer might have gone. The rural location and darkness made comprehensive searching extremely challenging. By 2 a.m., the search operation had expanded to include additional police units, state emergency service volunteers, and specialized tracking teams experienced in outback search and rescue operations. The case was immediately classified as a high-priority emergency due to Mitchell's status as a missing police officer. The investigation revealed disturbing inconsistencies about the noise complaint that had drawn Mitchell to the remote location. Further investigation showed that the phone number used to report the complaint was traced to a payphone in Cairns, and the caller had provided false contact information to dispatch. Margaret Thompson, the supposed complainant, was contacted and confirmed that she had not made any noise complaint calls that evening. She reported that the neighboring property had been quiet all evening and that she had seen no unusual activity in the area during recent weeks. Detective Inspector James Crawford took charge of the investigation and immediately suspected that Mitchell had been lured to the remote location through a false emergency call designed to isolate her from backup and communication with dispatch. This suggested premeditation and specific targeting of the missing officer. The property where Mitchell had been directed was registered to a shell company with no traceable ownership information. Land records showed it had been purchased 6 months earlier with cash, raising immediate suspicions about its connection to criminal activity that might have motivated attacks on police officers. Extensive forensic examination of Mitchell's patrol vehicle revealed no evidence of struggle or violence, but also no indication of where she might have gone or what had happened after she parked at the complaint location. The vehicle's positioning suggested she had intended to investigate the property on foot. The search operation expanded over the following weeks to cover hundreds of square kilometers of Queensland wilderness, including areas accessible by vehicle and remote locations where someone might conceal evidence or hold a captive. The challenging terrain and vast scale of the search area made comprehensive coverage extremely difficult. Federal police resources were committed to the investigation due to the serious implications of a missing police officer and the possibility that organized criminal activity might be involved. The case generated significant media attention throughout Australia, highlighting the dangers faced by rural police officers. Advanced search techniques available in 1995 included helicopter thermal imaging and systematic ground searches by experienced trackers, but the outback's harsh conditions and enormous scale made finding evidence of Mitchell's fate extremely challenging without more specific information about her location. The investigation examined Mitchell's recent cases and arrests for any connections to individuals who might seek revenge against her. However, her work had focused primarily on community policing and minor offenses, making it unlikely that she had made enemies capable of sophisticated abduction operations. After 6 months of intensive investigation, the case was classified as a suspected homicide, though no evidence had been discovered to confirm Mitchell's death or identify those responsible for her disappearance. The investigation remained active with periodic review and follow-up on new tips. Throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s, the Mitchell case remained a priority for Queensland Police, with regular reviews and investigation of new information that emerged from ongoing criminal investigations in the region. The case became symbolic of the dangers faced by police officers working in remote areas. Mitchell's family organized annual memorial services and maintained public pressure for continued investigation, refusing to accept that the case might never be solved. Her parents became advocates for improved safety protocols for rural police officers working alone in dangerous situations. In 2001, human remains found in a remote area initially raised hopes for resolution, but forensic analysis determined they were unrelated to Mitchell's disappearance. Such discoveries occasionally renewed attention to the case but didn't provide the breakthrough evidence investigators needed. The case was featured in several true crime programs and police safety training materials, serving as an example of the vulnerabilities that officers face when responding to calls in isolated areas without adequate backup or communication support. By 2004, 9 years after Mitchell's disappearance, the active investigation had been scaled back, though the case remained technically open and Queensland police continued following up on credible tips or new information that emerged from other criminal investigations. November 16, 2004, began as a routine day for cattle ranchers Bill and Janet Morrison, who were exploring their remote property near Mount Malloy to identify potential locations for new water sources during an ongoing drought. The property covered several thousand hectares of rugged terrain, approximately 60 kilometers from where Constable Mitchell had disappeared. Around 2 p.m., while examining a depression that might indicate underground water, the couple noticed an unusual formation of rocks that appear to have been arranged deliberately, rather than occurring naturally. The rock formation was located in a remote area of their property that they rarely visited due to its difficult access. Investigation of the rock formation revealed what appeared to be a concealed entrance to an underground cavity or cave system. The opening had been carefully camouflaged but was visible once the Morrisons began examining the area more closely for potential water sources. Bill Morrison used a flashlight to examine the underground space and immediately discovered what appeared to be human remains along with personal items that included what looked like police equipment. The discovery prompted immediate notification of local authorities about the potentially significant find. Within hours, Queensland police had secured the site and forensic specialists were examining what would prove to be evidence related to Constable Mitchell's disappearance. The remote location and sophisticated concealment suggested that whoever had created the site had extensive knowledge of the local terrain. Forensic analysis confirmed that the remains found in the concealed underground chamber belonged to Constable Sarah Mitchell. Personal items recovered from the site included her service weapon, portable radio, and identification that definitively established her identity after 9 years of uncertainty. The investigation revealed that Mitchell had been killed and her body concealed in the carefully prepared underground hiding place, which had been designed to prevent discovery even by extensive search operations. The sophisticated concealment suggested detailed planning and local knowledge. Evidence found at the site indicated that Mitchell had been abducted from her patrol location and transported to the remote area where she was killed. The underground chamber contained materials suggesting it had been prepared in advance, supporting theories that her abduction had been specifically planned. The investigation focused on individuals with connections to both the false noise complaint location and the remote area where Mitchell's remains were discovered. Cross-referencing land ownership records and criminal databases identified several suspects with potential motives for targeting police officers. DNA evidence recovered from the concealment site was matched to Raymond Phillips, a 45-year-old man with an extensive criminal record who had been operating drug trafficking operations in the region. Phillips had been arrested on unrelated charges in 2002 and was serving time in prison when Mitchell's remains were discovered. Under interrogation, Phillips confessed to abducting and murdering Constable Mitchell in October 1995. According to his account, Mitchell had been investigating drug operations that threatened his criminal activities, and he had lured her to the remote location using the false noise complaint to eliminate the threat she represented. Phillips revealed that he had been monitoring police radio communications and had identified Mitchell as a particular threat to his operations due to her effectiveness in rural policing and her growing knowledge of criminal activity in his territory. The confession provided closure to Mitchell's family and the Queensland police after 9 years of uncertainty, though learning the circumstances of her death confirmed their worst fears about the dangers she had faced as a rural police officer. Phillips was charged with murder and received a life sentence without possibility of parole. His confession also led to the resolution of several other criminal cases and the dismantling of drug trafficking operations that had been active in the region during the 1990s. The case prompted comprehensive reviews of rural policing protocols and safety measures for officers working alone in remote areas. Mitchell's death became a catalyst for improved communication systems and backup procedures designed to protect officers in similar situations. Constable Sarah Mitchell's story serves as both a tragedy and an important reminder of the deadly risks that police officers face when criminal organizations view them as threats to be eliminated rather than law enforcement to be evaded. The 9-year delay in discovering her fate illustrates how effectively criminal organizations can conceal evidence when they have local knowledge and resources to create sophisticated hiding places in remote terrain. For Australian law enforcement agencies, the case provided crucial lessons about officer safety in rural areas and the need for improved communication and backup protocols when officers respond to calls in isolated locations. The persistence of Mitchell's family and Queensland police in maintaining the case as active contributed to the eventual resolution when the concealment site was accidentally discovered during routine agricultural activities. The case demonstrates how routine agricultural work can sometimes expose evidence of serious crimes that have been hidden for years, providing unexpected breakthroughs in cold cases that seemed impossible to solve. Cattle ranching and agricultural activities continue throughout remote Queensland, with farmers now more aware of the potential significance of unusual formations or concealed areas on their properties. The intersection of agricultural work and criminal investigation provided the key to solving Mitchell's case. As of 2004, new protocols require enhanced safety measures for police officers responding to calls in remote areas, including mandatory backup and improved communication systems designed to prevent similar tragedies. Constable Mitchell's legacy lives on through improved officer safety measures and the continued dedication of rural police officers who serve remote communities despite the inherent dangers, while her story serves as a powerful reminder of the ultimate sacrifice that some officers make in service to their communities.